Welcome back, Agent. I'm glad to see that you're still alive. Well, the board of directors has sent me down your next assignment. It contains an audio log that you should listen to so that you have the utmost of information on your next subject. Remember to be safe out there. Here at Corporate Horror, we pride ourselves on not only our safety, but our integrity. I must have paced back and forth, watching the Rorschachs stare at me for at least 2 hours. I kept thinking about what I thought they were supposed to do. I kept thinking that they should have left by now, or attacked me, stormed the building even. It was around that time I realized that one of my neighbors, Lisa, was supposed to be getting back from her job. I was hoping she was going to be late getting home. Or at any rate, maybe they wouldn't be any threat to her, considering they were evidently focused on me. The clock slowed down, as I anticipated the arrival to the building, but 5:30 rolled around. There she was. She was buried in her phone, walking into the courtyard. She was so distracted by the little screen in her hand that she didn't notice the monsters, until she bumped into one. She looked up, and I could already see on her face how scared she was. The one she bumped into turned around and stared at her. The lack of expression on its face seemed to confuse her, keeping her quiet but terrified all the more. I waited to see what would happen. It was at this moment the Rorschachs changed yet again. Their backs grew more blocky. Some of their elbows started to have circular prisms poke through the skin. The morphing terrified her too much, and she decided that coming into the apartment building would have been too risky. She tried to turn and run, but before she could take one step towards the gate, a number of them jumped on her and tore her limb from limb. Her screams were seemingly muffled by how quickly they tore her apart. They twisted her head until it snapped off. I looked on as they morphed again. I couldn't tell what sin I was committing, what great action I was taking that could possibly be making them so upset with me. I waited for a little while, but once they seemed to realize I wasn't going to move from where I was, they all left in different directions. Some of the ones that killed Lisa took her limbs and crawled away with them. The rest stayed and seemed to wipe away the blood with their hands, long enough for the color to blend in with the sidewalk. This process took some time, but they were able to achieve the cover-up pretty well. I woke up to screams. I sprang to investigate and tripped over my own feet trying to get out of bed to find the source of where the commotion was coming. I looked out my window, and, as I suspected, the Rorschach monsters had returned, but there were fewer than there were last night. Don't get me wrong, there was still a lot of them, but I could tell some were missing from the pack of hunters. The only thing I couldn't figure out was where the screams came. I looked up and down the courtyard. No body parts, no new bloodstains, just the creatures. That was when I heard a loud bang against my door. Another one followed it, yet it lacked the rhythm of someone knocking, trying to get my attention. I walked over and looked through the peephole. I could see that my situation had yet again gotten worse. A Rorschach was outside, tearing apart another one of my neighbors. An old lady that I never learned the name of lay dead, being torn apart even, as her death was already apparent. From the hallway, the monsters were distracted by the audible scream of a man that was in shock and fear. I tried to look, but I could only see so far through my peephole. The Rorschach's head, that changed more since I saw it, resembled a cross but had a circular hole through, looked at the neighbor. It jumped with incredible speed. I opened my door to to watch the man try to utter the words, "help." But he was dead in just a second, when the creature made a fist and completely crushed the head of its victim. The man's once reached out hand dropped to the floor, lifeless. The Rorschach turned and began to walk back towards me. I quickly closed my door and locked it. I looked through the peephole again, but the opposite direction, another Rorschach entered the hallway. The two were now pacing back and forth, up and down the length of the hallway. With time, more of them came till the hallway must have had 10 of them running into each other, and how many walking past one another. Every so often, another person would investigate, and they would fall prey to the Rorschachs. Every new death made them change, more into some sort of abstract, blocky mess that resembled nothing in particular. I feared that at this rate I would not be able to escape them. Worse still, if they found out that they were strong enough to break down my door. I decided it was time to call the police. When I grabbed my phone, I heard another noise from the hallway. I saw nothing, but as I typed the numbers 911 into the phone, I heard it again. I looked out and saw the creatures. They were starting to lose their shapes. The blocks and shapes coming from their skin were going away. This was the final clue I needed. The one thing that made me realize what my sin was that angered these demons.
Alright, Agent, your next case file can be found here. For all further cases, you can always check back here at Corporate Horror. And of course, if any other information or research is needed, you can always check back at the previous case file here. Most of it's redacted. Is it really taking you this long to read? Okay, look, if you're not going to take the file, I really need to put this back into the archives.